Item 10.2, resolution of the City Council of the City of Emeryville in support of dedicating the state's cap and trade proceeds to support investment in transit-oriented projects and programs. Jennifer.
Yeah, this is something that's come to my attention, that, you know, at the state level, there is a large revenue that will be generated by the cap and trade auctions. It started this past year and will grow to include transportation elements over the next few years as well. And this is a resolution that cities are considering to help send guidance to Sacramento about how the cap and trade funds could be used in our communities to help assist affordable housing options in transit-oriented areas, and kind of replacing or directing, I guess, those funds towards where our redevelopment funds really have diminished. And I think the key here is that building new housing is not equal in every location, that if you build new housing near transit, and if 50% even of our new housing that we will be building over our sustainable community strategies time period, our Plan Bay Area time period, if 50% of that housing is built within that half-mile distance of transit, we will actively reduce our greenhouse gas emissions even as our population grows. And so the other kind of flip problem to that is that as we build housing near transit, the property values go up, and actually there's a displacement effect of lower income residents. Not surprisingly, lower income residents use transit at a much greater rate than higher income residents, who tend to keep their cars for convenience and other reasons. And so if the displacement happens near transit, we will actually could see a reduced level of transit ridership, because the lower income residents are not able to use or access the transit. Their houses will be, they'll be moved to other locations farther away. So this is kind of chiming in and trying to make sure that cap and trade funds are used in a smart way that actually is in step with reducing our greenhouse gas emissions as well. This is part of our climate action plan here in town, and it's also an equity solution for those who want to be able to afford to live near transit as well. So I would hope that the rest of the council would support this, and with that, I'll move that resolution.
Second. So I want to discuss this item because there's a lot of pressures on cap and trade money that would help further reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And from what I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, inaccurate in my understanding of what you want to support building housing with this cap and trade money, right?
That some of the money would go towards, yes, the affordable housing near transit. Exactly.
Okay, so one of the things that is going to be available to the Transportation Commission is cap and trade money. Mm-hmm. So obviously that's going to go for transit, not just housing. So I'm a little concerned because when you directly support transit investments, you're directly supporting getting cars off the road, and there's a much more direct correlation with the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. So not to have anything here around transportation and public transit just seems to be trying to grab too much from one that isn't. There is a correlation in terms of what you're proposing, but there's not a nexus. A direct nexus in reducing greenhouse gas emissions is in transportation. Transportation in Alameda County is 40% of our greenhouse gas emissions. And so it seems to me we need to be directly supporting public transportation options.
Yeah, I actually agree with you entirely, and I don't, maybe I didn't read this carefully, but I don't think that we're trying to take all of the cap and trade money and put it towards affordable housing near transit. I think we just want to be sure that some of the cap and trade money could be put towards affordable housing. What I've heard at MTC and our regional transportation decision makers is that they say we're not in the housing business and we're not going to consider using the funds that come to the region for transportation to go towards creating affordable housing near transit. And I think actually the two have to go hand in hand, that if you put all the money towards transit and have this displacement effect of the areas around transit, you're not going to see the gains that you could see. So I think what you're saying about a nexus makes a lot of sense, Ruth, in that you need both to happen. Maybe this resolution is not specific enough to make that clear. And if so, I apologize, but I would be happy to add something that doesn't preclude money being spent towards transit, because I think that's an important piece of the puzzle.
Well, I'm looking at the resolution, the resolved part of your resolution. It says that include investment in transit-oriented projects and programs such as transit capital and operations. So that's the first thing there. It's not even housing. Mm-hmm. And then including student transit pass programs and last mile alternative, and then so there's a list of things, and so I mean that's
just about inclusivity, and I think it's saying don't forget the other piece, which is the affordable housing near transit as well.
Yeah, so that's a list, and you're not asking for particular.
No,
I think a percentage
very
is
specific.
So yeah, I think that's fine as is, but I just wanted to put that out, that it's not just building buildings that, like, say, are energy efficient or low income. It's like we're gonna more bang for our buck, I think, is spent on supporting transit.
Right, I agree, and thank you for raising that.
Yeah.
Call the question.
A motion? A motion?
Yeah, I moved that, and Nora seconded it, I believe.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Council members reporting on meetings attended.
Well, wait, I want the other one. It's not a meeting, but I asked that council have the Alameda CTC report because there's some good news from there. So this was added on your dais, which is that what's really unusual is that the CTC got AAA ratings from both Fitch and Standard & Poor's for the Measure B sales tax bonds. So
that's good news.
It's the first transportation agency of its kind in California with this top credit rating. So it bodes well for the bond issuance that's going to be moving forward from there. And also the transportation expenditure plan, which we've talked some about already, was also approved to move forward for the ballot in November.
Thank you, Ruth. Anyone else reporting on meetings attended?
Well, I actually went to the mayor's conference, the mayor of San Francisco and Oakland, and that was very interesting. And one of the main drivers there was housing, because San Francisco has some major issues with housing.
Yeah. Yes.
And Oakland also has some major issues, but it appears they found a couple $2 billion to build housing at the, well, actually it's at where the Raiders are, at the stadium there, and Oak to Ninth is what they used to call it. So they supposedly have billions of dollars for that, but also the big push is on the Port of Oakland to expand that. So we know that we have to keep our eyes open, because we have to keep the amount of noise down going through Emeryville. So I mean, that's the amount of trains are going to be substantially more than what currently is going through our fair city. But the good part of that is that the trucks will be down, but the trains will be up. So also what you're going to be seeing is the rents in San Francisco office buildings run $57 a square foot, upwards to $101 a square foot at 555 California. So there's going to be, what they're saying, in a couple of years, that overflow in the city is going to start coming to the East Bay. So I think we're already seeing it here with construction. But if the economy goes like it's currently going, this should be a very low busy town here. So in the next couple of years.
When council looks at the economic development strategy plan, I think it should include looking at businesses that wanted a San Francisco address but were priced out because they could come here for a lot less. So I think we should have some intelligence.
Well, a lot of them are already here. There's some, you'll be surprised the number of back offices that are here that have a San Francisco presence, but a lot of the employees are being transferred over here. So.
Jack, I just have one announcement. We